Welcome to Strengthened Stories, the podcast dedicated to exploring the healing journeys of women overcoming trauma. Each episode features heartfelt conversations that illuminate the power of vulnerability, resilience, and community. We'll hear transformative stories that remind us we're not alone and discover tools to foster healing and growth. Join us as we celebrate the strength within each story and the courage to rise anew. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Strengthened Stories. Today, our guest is Heidi. She is an amazing saleswoman at Stu Hansen in Urbandale.
Yep.
And she has won the top saleswoman of the year. So let's hear your great story.
Yes.
You have a great story to tell. So
Yes,
let's hear it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So start from the beginning?
Yeah.
Or?
Wherever you feel led to start of your journey of where you're at now.
Okay. So I guess I'll start in the beginning. So I grew up, my parents they did the best they could, I'd say. My dad was an alcoholic. He was an addict. My mom was an addict, but she was more of a closet addict, so you didn't really know that she was an addict. Mm-hmm. And then I had my brother. He was 8 years older than me. And that's really where it all began, was with my brother. And everybody has that, one person that they start their journey with. That was him. I think I was about 11 when I started using. I was taking my parents' drugs off their tray. I was drinking my dad's alcohol. My brother was definitely condoning it. Why don't you go get some of mom's stuff? Why are you trying to use mine? My dad was in a horrific motorcycle accident when I was 11. So within 3 days, our dog died that we had for the time I was a baby. My dad was in the motorcycle accident, and then my mom lost her job after 20 years of working at the register.
Wow.
Yeah. And we went from having everything we ever needed, food on the table, to needing to go to the church to get food, needing presents from the church for Christmas, and everybody's help. My dad was out of work for about a year. We had the hospital bed in the kitchen, everything. That was pretty traumatic for an 11-year-old who never had no death, no serious nothing in her life. And then my brother started using hard drugs, and then my brother started using Oxycontin and meth on a regular basis. And I just wanted to be around him. He was cool. He had all the things. He had the nice car, the clothes. He still went to work, so he was a functioning addict. And me as a 11 or 12-year-old, I'm like, oh, I can do what he does. Absolutely, I can be just like him. My parents were too busy in their own world to even notice what was really going on behind the scenes, what was going on with their little girl who used to dance, do gymnastics, cheer. So I had nothing to do because we didn't have any money to go do those things.
Yeah.
So I started hanging out with the wrong crowd at school. Friends that were in the same position as I was versus the kids who didn't know what I was going through. Couldn't relate with me.
Yeah.
And so that went on for a few years. I started dating a guy when I was a freshman in high school. That was definitely way too old for me.
Yeah.
I was friends with his sister. That's normally how the story goes.
Yeah.
Friends with his sister. Things got, I started living with him basically when I was a freshman in high school. I would never let my daughter do that.
Girl, same.
Yeah, never. So he was from California, so he was into the bigger drugs. So he was into the hallucinogens and the ecstasy, and I dabbled in all of that as a freshman in high school. And then it became an everyday thing. At first it was every weekend, and then it was every day. We were, just doing the most. Skipping school. Luckily I graduated. I did graduate. By the hair, just barely. In school, I got into many fights over him because he's my man, and you're not going to talk to him, and I did all the things.
Yeah.
And so just looking back now, I'm like, if my daughter was going through that, I pray to God that I'm able to see that and know that she's going through something, and not allow her to be with a guy that's 5 years older than her. Amen.
Yeah, it's rough to be in that situation when you don't have the support around you, right?
Absolutely.
Because I grew up in the similar chaos, if you will.
Yes.
And no one really cared.
No.
There was no support, no love, no nothing. So they didn't care what you did.
No.
Like, everybody was
as
doing
long
their own
as you
thing.
came home at night, you were fine.
Yeah.
You know, come home when the street lights are on, or come home when I call you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were different times, I'd say.
Absolutely.
And so I got pregnant. So I broke up with him because I was like, I've been with you for 4 years. I want to go experiment. I want to go live my life. And I got pregnant with the first guy that I seen after him. Oh. And, you know, for a while, like, I justified it in my head. Like, you can go sleep with these guys. You're not going to get pregnant. You were with him for 4 years. You didn't get pregnant. First guy I got pregnant with.
Oh, yeah. God has a plan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I got pregnant with my first daughter, Isla, at 17, right before graduation. And I remember being so mad. Like, why did you get pregnant? You can't go to all the parties. Everybody's going to know. You can't drink. You can't do all the things. And so I remember coming to my mom, and my dad completely was like, what, why would you do this? How could you do this to yourself? You're such a slut, you dumb bitch. Like, all the bad things, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
Because when he grew up in a time where it was normal to beat your kids, to slap your kids, to do all those things. So I was definitely scared to tell them, but I did. And, you know, there was no hiding that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that the guy I got pregnant with got me and 3 other girls pregnant within 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah. The first girl aborted it. I kept her, I gave her up for adoption. That's what ended up happening. Okay. And the last girl kept their child, and ended up DHS came in and took her kid.
Wow.
Because we were all 3 broken women, you know, broken teenagers that didn't know no better.
Absolutely.
And he obviously didn't know no better, didn't care.
Right. Forgive them, Father, for they not know what they do.
No, they do not. Yeah. And so I remember going to my aunt's funeral. She was 99 when she passed away, and I was like 6 months pregnant. I still had no idea what I was going to do. I knew that I didn't want to be a mom because I was 17, and I still wanted to get high and do all the things and party. But I knew that I couldn't keep this child, because if I did, inevitably my mother would end up raising her. Somebody else other than me would end up raising her. Mm-hmm. So at my aunt's funeral, my mom and aunt introduced me to my cousin that lives in California. They tried IVF, all the different things to get pregnant. They were 41 and 42. Retired Marines, like, had everything, had their whole life together, right? Mm-hmm. And they went through 3 adoptions, and each time it fell through after birth. The mother would change her mind, or something would happen and come up. Well, I'm like, yep, you can take my child. I'm not ready. I absolutely know that you can have my baby, because the dad wants nothing to do with me. Told me that he's going to stay with the other girl because she has money and she has a job and she's not a drug addict like you. And hearing those things from that man really, like, looking back, like, at the time, I'm like, oh, screw him. He's no good. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But, like, that deeply affected me in so many ways that I couldn't even, like, today I can see how hurtful and traumatic that was, hearing from somebody who you just wanted love from. Yeah. So you're not worth it. Yeah. And I never heard that before, you know, except from my father, but like, no man. And so I gave birth to Isla when I was 17 or 18. I just graduated, went through all that stuff, and then I was free again. You know, I was free to do whatever I wanted because I didn't have a kid to hold me back. And that's when the hard drugs took. That's when I started IV using meth, and then that went to heroin, because heroin was cheaper than opiates. And I'd be gone for weeks at a time. My parents would show up at random houses just looking for me because they had no idea where I was. They would call my phone. I would ignore it. I would break into their house when they weren't there and steal all their things. I would break into other people's houses and steal their things because I was just trying to get that next fix. I didn't want to work. You know, who wanted to work for?
No,
I had no idea what a work ethic was back then. I had no idea that if you just went to work, you could actually get paid.
That's a lot of things that you don't even know as a child or a teenager, that someone could just be like, one little educational piece could be like, hey, you could do this and get this. And
everything be changed. Everything be better.
Again, back to having those role models, those people in your life to support you and love you.
Absolutely.
And to guide you is important.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So all that happened. I was probably 18, 19. And so I was in and out of jail quite a bit for petty theft, because I would be stealing clothes to go sell them to go get high, or all the things. So my longest stint in jail was 6 months, and I sat in there and I really understood. Like, I talked to all the women in there, you know, because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Either sleep, watch TV, or chit-chat with the other criminals. And they're like, you're too young for this. Why are you doing this to yourself? You're so pretty. You can be so much more. But that self-worth was not there.
Oh,
like, being addicted, IV using, you just see yourself as another drug addict who's just inevitably going to die.
A statistic.
Because 1% of us make it out, 1%. And I'm like, I'm not going to be that 1%. My brother's still getting high. Why can't I get high? You know? I would always relate myself to him and look up to him as like, oh, he can do it. I can do it too. Everybody would, like, feared him and, like, respected him, and he was that guy.
Yeah.
But again, he was a man, and he was 8 years older than me.
Yeah.
So he had a lot more experience. Yeah.
No. Now that you're looking back, but then it was like.
Then it was, why can't I do that too?
Yeah.
So I met my second daughter's dad in active use, just at a flop house. He had been in prison for 3 years, and he got out, and, you know, he didn't look like the other guys because the other guys were all shriveled up because they were using.
Yeah.
And he was different. He was quiet. He kept to himself. He wasn't all over me trying to, you know, sexually abuse me, do all those things. Because right before I met him is when I was raped, beat, and sold for drugs. I was 19, 20 years old. It was my brother's friend who did it. So it's always somebody that's close to you or that you can trust. Yeah. I found out really quick that I could not trust him. He told me, go in that house right there, and that guy's it was for bail money because I got bonded out by that guy, and he wanted his money back. He's like, you go in there and you talk to him, and he'll give you the money. And me being 19 or 20, foolish, like, oh, really? That's all I got to do?
The influence.
Yeah. I mean, just wear your shirt down low and walk in there. And I opened that door, and I will never forget how terrified I was. It was literally like you see in the movies, like there's drugs everywhere, there's naked women, and I open the door and I'm like, maybe this is the wrong house, and I go to shut the door and he walks in behind me, nope, keep going. And that's when I knew it was over. I didn't want to, obviously we never want to, but I remember going downstairs scared out of my mind, and he put a gun to my head and he's like, you either, or, you know, this is going to happen. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
I never experienced anything like that before.
How scary.
Very scary. And so that went on. I was stuck with that man for like 2 or 3 weeks before I finally like grew up hair and went for a car ride with him to the gas station. The child lock was on, and I reached my hand over and unlocked the door. I didn't have shoes on. I was barely wearing clothes. And I ran into the gas station, and I called my aunt. And I remember the gas station attendant being like, what is going on with this girl? I was so scared out of my mind. I remember running in the gas station, and the guy's like, wait, come back here. And I'm like, nope. Ran inside.
Praise God, you got away.
Absolutely. And I went to my aunt's house for a few weeks after that. I got sober. And then, I mean, it was probably 3 weeks. I got clean, and then I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be clean. This sucks. Like, I'm hurting. I'm crying. I'm emotional. I'm weak. I know what's going to fix it. So even knowing that guy was out there, I still went back. Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah, it's,
like,
you know, it's not, again, it's not our flesh. It's our spirit. And sometimes the evil enemy comes and just takes over and just puts us back where we don't belong.
It's because it's what I was comfortable with, is what I've learned. You know, I was comfortable with the abuse, the neglect, the just wanting to get more drugs. Just, that was all I knew. It wasn't get up for work, get your kids ready, go to work, come home, cook supper. It was finding ways and means to get more, just to get by. So that happened. And so then I met my daughter's dad, and I was like, oh, this is going to be different. He's nice. He's, you know, quiet. He has a good relationship with his mom. And I remember going to his mom's house after like 3 weeks of being together. Like, you don't Like, it takes time. Like, now I know, like, that's not normal. Like, there's a process to it. But then I was like, oh, let me go meet your mom. We're going to be together. And she told me, she's like, I don't recommend you staying. She's like, if you know what's good for you, you will leave. And I'm like, what? He's so nice. He's different. You don't know. You need to leave. And I'm like, it's okay. I got this. Yeah.
We always ignore the red flags.
Ignore it. And, yeah, that was a pretty eye-opening moment that I should have ran, but I didn't. Come to find out, he's super abusive, very narcissistic, needs to be in control, very paranoid, schizophrenic, because after 3 weeks, you don't really know somebody.
Yeah.
They still have that face on them. Mm-hmm. It took me about another 2-3 weeks after that to really understand what she was talking about, because I got comfortable with him. And then after you get comfortable, then they start to show who they really are.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I was in that basement of that man's house so we lived with a friend of his mom. Turns out his mom is a drug addict too. Oh. His whole family was a drug addict. And I just, that was cool to me, because like I could go get high at the house and nobody would say anything. But come to find out, like, we couldn't have the windows open, couldn't have the door open. People were looking in. I was sleeping with his grandpa, my brother. I was sleeping with everybody. Wow. Everybody. And I'm like, what? Why would I sleep with my brother? Like, that's gross.
Yeah.
I haven't even left your side. How would I go do anything? But I pretended like that's normal. That's love. Yeah. Because my dad used to be super abusive to my mom. Not in that sense, but like, you wench, you cook my supper and do all those things. Yeah. So I saw that aggressive love, and that's what I, compared my love to. Mm-hmm. So I was with him for 11 years.
Wow.
11 years. Yeah. Our first daughter, so I got pregnant like 6 months after being with him. We were out in Colfax, so I was away from all of my family. During that time, my dad found out he had liver and kidney failure. And so I was already super, super scarred, super traumatized. Yeah. So dealing with my dad, going through all of that, he's sicker than I've ever seen him before. He's this 6'3" biker guy that I've never seen sick ever in my life. Never seen him cry, besides for the motorcycle accident. But after that, he got better, and then he got sick with his alcoholism. So I never wanted to be around him, but seeing him fragile like that really, really scarred me. So Stephen walked with me through that, went to Omaha with me. I remember stealing my dad's pills, knowing that he needed those pills to get better, stealing his pills from him out of the little safe. And just being I'm looking back now, I'm like, I would never in my life ever try and intentionally hurt my father like I did that day. Yeah. So got pregnant with my second daughter. Coming home from the hospital with her, he opened up the door and we were arguing about something stupid, something simple. And he pushed me through the door with carrying the car seat. Dropped, fell, and we had our own apartment at that time. Yeah. So yeah.
Very, very traumatic stuff that you
Yeah.
went through, and very similar to kind of what I went through as well. And how did you get out? How did you overcome it? What made you be like, okay, this is enough, 11 years?
He put a gun to my head and told me he was going to effing kill me.
I don't do it.
Yeah. So what I couldn't do for myself, God did for me.
Amen.
Because I didn't call the cops. The place I was working at that time called the cops because he showed up to my work and they arrested him there because I couldn't do it for myself. Yeah. I couldn't walk away. I tried many times, like, oh, I don't need him. I couldn't do it. After losing a child to DHS with him, DHS came in and said, you're not mentally stable to raise a child, because I was on probation from being in and out of jail. Yeah. So our first daughter was taken from us with DHS. Okay. So, yeah.
So where you're at now, how did you, what?
Narcotics Anonymous, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll have a link to that in the podcast as well.
So I moved
help.
up. Yep, moved up to Sioux City when he was in prison. Got away. Thank God.
Amen. He answers our prayers
Yeah.
sometimes, and we don't even realize
Yeah.
that it's being answered. So,
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely. Got away from him, got clean, found a sponsor. She absolutely changed my whole life.
Love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
she helped build me back up, tell me that I'm worth it. I don't have to get high today. And then I found church.
God's always good.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So in that whole time, I lost my dad. I lost my brother. I lost my whole family because what do they want to do with a drug addict?
Well, you're still a woman.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
a human being, and you're an amazing person. So
Absolutely.
to say that they lost a drug addict is not.
Yeah. Not
That's
today.
not you.
Yeah.
That's not you.
Yeah, not
You're
today.
Heidi. You're
Yes.
God's child.
Yep.
You're an amazing person.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I get to raise my 6-year-old daughter by myself today. He's still in prison, thankfully.
Okay, good.
And I remember my sponsor telling me, "You're worth it. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try selling some phones?" I was like, "What? I don't even know how to do any of that. I don't know how to talk to people."
Mm-hmm.
My confidence was still super low, and I tried it, and I loved it. I loved it.
I love this.
Yes, yep. Everything changed with that sales job because it went from me being a server, not knowing anything, and no difference, nothing about credit, nothing about home buying, car buying, and working at Verizon for 5 years changed everything for me. And then COVID happened, everything shut down, my store shut down. And then I started selling cars because I was like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah. And now look at you.
Yeah, absolutely.
How long have you been doing it?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just won Saleswoman of the Year.
I did.
I'm so
I
proud of
did.
you.
It's crazy how everything changes.
Yeah.
Everything
When
can-
you decide to change
Yeah.
and you decide to
Yeah.
go to church and you get clean
Yeah.
and you make this mindset
Yeah,
shift, it does
absolutely.
change everything. And I see you in the gym all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
And you're working on yourself.
Yes,
And
constantly.
so that just shows everyone that
Yeah.
with my story, with your
Yeah.
story, with other stories that have been on here, that you can come from
Nothing.
the worst situation and just
Make
put
it
your
everything.
make everything and just change your entire world.
Everything.
And you are a prime example of that, and
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Yes.
Because drugs
Yeah.
are very, very hard to get off
Absolutely.
of. They're literally the devil just
Yeah.
grabs you,
Yeah.
and just it's so hard. And for you to be able to overcome that
Mhm.
and make a life for yourself and your daughter,
Yeah.
and I see your growth, and I see
Yeah.
you've helped three of
Yeah.
my 4 children get
Yeah.
a car. So
Yeah.
if you need a car, go see
Yeah.
Heidi at Stu Hansen, because
Yeah.
you make the experience personable,
Yes.
and you are relatable, and you are very down to earth, and you
Yeah.
love taking care of people.
Absolutely.
And I see that in you, and I'm so grateful that you came on here to share your story,
Yeah.
because it's powerful.
Yes.
And even if it helps just one person,
Yeah.
and that's what
how
we're
I
here
see
for.
it. Yeah.
So I'm so proud of you.
Thank
you
you.
so much for joining us.
Yes.
And I would love to have you back again.
Absolutely.
All right. Everybody, go see Heidi at Stu Hansen. She will take care of you. If you need resources, if you are having trouble getting off drugs right now, or you're in a situation that you don't think you can get out of,
Yeah.
please reach out to us. We would be happy to help you in any situation that you're in, to help you get out of that situation. So
Yeah.
we'll have links to some resources for you, or just reach out to us personally, and we'd love to give you those resources as well. Until next time, we will see you again. Bye, guys.
Bye.